Think back to a simpler time. A time when our only worries in the world were going to school, getting good grades, eating healthy, exercising, and getting home after a long day to sit on your couch and turn on the PlayStation. There's no better feeling than putting on your headset and getting ready to play Call of Duty online with all your friends. Everything seems perfect, and it seems like nothing will ever be bad in your life. I'll never forget the time when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, and somehow I convinced my parents at the age of 14 to let me buy this game. Little did I or my parents know how many bad ideas one can get from playing this one video game. But at that age, we're not necessarily thinking of that. The one aspect of video games that we seem to not notice at a young age is what these games can potentially inspire us to do. My name is Eduardo Friedman, and today I'm going to talk about how video games can potentially lead us to doing dangerous things and ultimately how it can promote violence to us. Media violence can lead to physical, psychological, and even family violence. The first point I wanted to bring to everyone's attention is that video games can potentially cause us to harm others physically. According to the video game debate Unraveling the Physical, Social, and Psychological Effects of Digital Games, a book written by Rachel Cowart and Thorsten Quandt, video games can inspire us to hurt the ones around us physically. One game that definitely comes to mind when thinking of a game that can promote violence, I think the most obvious answer is Grand Theft Auto. Now don't get me wrong, it's probably one of the most entertaining games I have ever played, but allowing teenagers to play this freely might not be the best idea. In this game, you're constantly killing people, you're stealing cars, and you're being a major part of heists. All of that seems so fun, especially at the age of 14. But we can't forget how doing these acts, even digitally and in a fake world, can encourage us to do it in the real world. All these ideas can very easily get into someone's head, and without realizing it, can definitely encourage us to commit these acts. The second point I wanted to bring up is that video games can psychologically harm us, and it can form dangerous ideas in our heads. According to Media Violence, written by Noel Marino, video games can become so important to our lives that we can become too psychologically invested in the game and can ultimately become delusional. There are so many games that you can get attached within the first 15 minutes of playing. Most of those are role-playing games or online games, and a perfect example is the World of Warcraft. It's an open world game where you can speak to other players online, and this could become dangerous when you feel like you become a different person while immersing yourself in the game and being online and speaking to all these people that you have no idea who they are. These thoughts can lead to people becoming delusional and actually believing they can become their video game alias in real life. The last point I wanted to bring up to everyone's attention is that video games can lead to family violence. According to Violent Games and Aggression, a journal published by SagePub, which is a journal site that focuses on behavior styles, says video games can potentially lead us to harm our families, whether it be physically or psychologically. Video games don't usually show family violence, but the ideas that are formed and that we get from video games could somehow encourage us to want to become violent with our own families. The ideas that video games promote could be tried out on our own relatives, and I think that's the scariest part of it all. We can lose control and even involve our families in doing so. To conclude, video games have a way to inspire us in a way that can be very hurtful. They can be physically and psychologically harmful, as well as lead us to family violence. Unconsciously, video games can promote violence to us, and they can lead us to do many dangerous things. As much as I and a lot of us do, we immerse ourselves into these fake worlds, and we need to be capable of understanding where to limit ourselves. Maybe we can start playing less violent games and more sports games. Especially in the time we're living in, during this quarantine stage of our lives, there are other ways that we can be spending our time and not playing violent video games with our friends online all day long. We are guardians of ourselves, and we are guardians of our children until they're mature enough to be their own guardian. I hope that everyone understands how important it is to not let ourselves get so invested in a video game, and that we don't start believing that we're a part of that game. I vow as a video game player to never forget how harmful video games can become, and to never let something I love and enjoy doing harm myself or others. Thank you.